hard to believe, but Robert Downey Jr. almost played Lex Luthor. Clint Eastwood nearly traded his cowboy hat for the bat cowl. Henry Cavill was almost Superman years before Man of Steel. And the directors behind Black Swan, Mad Max, and Troy came this close to bringing their own DC films to life. For years, DC let one bold vision after another slip away, and stories we'll never get to see. I'm Ems Hussein, and this is Visions. Let's get started. Batman Year 1. Darren Aronofsky, a filmmaker known for diving headfirst into the darker corners of the human psyche, harsh realities, gritty symbolism, existential idea. At one point, he almost brought all of that to Gotham. Early in his career, Warner Brothers tapped him to reinvent Batman on the big screen, teaming up with comic book legend Frank Miller to adapt Batman Year 1. But this wasn't the comic you remember. Aronofsky wanted to strip Batman down and start from scratch. In his version, Bruce Wayne loses his fortune and winds up homeless after his parents' murder. He grows up working in a grimy mechanic shop in Gotham's poorest neighborhood. His Batcave, an abandoned subway station, his arsenal, no high-tech gadgets, no supercar, just raw determination in a 1970s-style crime noir inspired by the French Connection, Taxi Driver, and The Crow. The vision clashed hard with the studios. Warner Brothers wanted something mass audience friendly and closer to the icon everyone knew. Aronofsky wanted something darker, grittier, more grounded. When an early draft leaked online and drew backlash, that was the breaking point. The project stalled out, leaving behind only concept art, rough notes, and an unfinished script. For the lead role, Aronofsky reportedly had his eye on Joaquin Phoenix or Christian Bale, and as you know, both of them ended up in Gotham, but on opposite sides of the ledger. Justice League Mortal. Almost a decade before the Snyder-Whedon Justice League controversy, director George Miller, co-creator of the entire Mad Max franchise, was on the verge of bringing DC's biggest heroes together on screen, and for the very first time. The story begins in 2007. Kieran and Michelle Mulroney finished their script. By the end of that same year, the film is already in pre-production under Miller's direction. It's inspired by the comic arcs Superman, Sacrifice, and Justice League, Tower of Babel. Then came the leak. A script appears online revealing the plot. Maxwell Lord gets his hands on Batman's secret contingency plan. Plans designed to neutralize every member of the Justice League if they ever became a threat. He uses those plans to take the heroes down, and even places Superman under mind control, turning him into the most dangerous weapon on Earth. Reports at the time also shared Miller's casting choices. DJ Catrona as Superman, Armie Hammer as Batman, Megan Gale as Wonder Woman, Santiago Cabrera as Aquaman, Adam Brody as The Flash. But Justice League Mortal hit obstacle after obstacle. The 2007 to 2008 writers' strike made script revisions nearly impossible. Then the production failed to secure a 40% tax rebate in Australia. Money the studio had been counting on. Those setbacks strained the budget and derailed the shooting schedule. Meanwhile, Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy was dominating. Warner Brothers shifted focus. After multiple delays, Justice League Mortal was officially scrapped. Parts of its concept lived on in the animated film Justice League Doom. But today, all that remains of the project is a handful of concept art, costume designs, and storyboard. Batman Beyond. A teenage Batman, a futuristic Gotham, and a retired Bruce Wayne pulling the strings from the shadow. When it premiered in 1999 as a follow-up to Batman the Animated Series and the new Batman Adventures, it hit instantly. Fans love this bold, fresh spin. Ever since, studios have tried again and again to bring the young Batman Terry McGinnis into live action. Back in 2000, a live-action Batman Beyond movie was announced. There were even rumors about screen legend Clint Eastwood stepping in as an aging Bruce Wayne. Warner Brothers hoped it would revive the Batman franchise after Batman and Robin bombed. But the Eastwood movie never happened. A few years later, the studio went in a completely different direction, handing the reins to Christopher Nolan for Batman Begins. Fast forward more than a decade. The idea came back, this time as a continuation of Tim Burton's Batman universe. Michael Keaton returning as an older Batman, Michelle Pfeiffer possibly back as Catwoman. Christina Hodson, the writer behind The Flash and the now cancelled Batgirl, reportedly set to pen the script. It was part of a last-ditch attempt to steady the DC extended universe, but everything froze in 2022 when James Gunn and Peter Safran took the helm at DC Studios and hit the reset button on the entire DC universe. A third attempt emerged from the animation world. Yuki Demers, who worked on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, teamed up with director Patrick Harpin. In February 2024, they pitched an animated Batman Beyond movie and even posted concept art online. Hype spiked. But after a wave of conflicting reports about DC and Warner Brothers' plan, 2 years later, it's safe to say the project's been shelved. From Eastwood rumors to Keaton's comeback to animated pitches, Batman Beyond remains one of DC's biggest what-if stories. Superman Flyby. The early 2000s were J.J. Abrams' real breakout years. He co-created some of the biggest shows on TV, Alias, Lost, Fringe, and made his feature directing debut with Mission Impossible 3. But a few years earlier, Abrams set out to leave his mark on the world's most famous superhero. His script for Superman, Flyby, was no ordinary origin story. In this version, Krypton is ripped apart by a civil war. Jor-El is killed, and baby Kal-El is sent to Earth to escape his corrupt uncle Katar-Zor. Clark grows up on the Kent farm, but once he saves Air Force One, the entire world and Lex Luthor finally notice him. Only this time, Lex isn't a billionaire genius. He's a CIA agent obsessed with the paranormal, convinced Superman is an alien threat. And it doesn't stop there. Ty-Zor, Kal-El's cousin, comes to Earth to hunt down the last son of Jor-El and destroy the prophecy of the Chosen One before it can ever happen. Directors came and went. Brett Ratner saw it as a full trilogy, with Josh Hartnett or Jude Law as Superman, Anthony Hopkins as Jor-El, and Ralph Fiennes as Lex. Then came Mick G, considering Scarlett Johansson or Sophia Bush for Lois, and Robert Downey Jr. or Johnny Depp as Lex. He even shot test footage with Henry Cavill wearing the cape. But after 2 years of false starts, Bryan Singer stepped in. He set aside Abrams' script and made Superman Returns in 2006. A sequel was planned, but delays in studio shifts brought the project to an end. Warner Brothers decided to reboot Superman inside a brand new cinematic universe. Abrams' prophecy for Kal-El never came true, but in a way it did for Henry Cavill, who finally wore the cape years later, even if only for a shorter run than anyone expected. Green Arrow escape from Supermax. Superhero action crime, a maximum security prison, all blended into one ambitious team-up movie. David S. Goyer, co-writer of the Dark Knight trilogy, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and writer of Marvel's Blade 1 and the 2 and Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, also had a bold vision for bringing Green Arrow to the big screen. In Escape from Supermax, Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow, is framed for a murder he didn't commit and thrown into the ultra-secure Supermax prison. To get out, he's forced to forge temporary alliances with rogue heroes and supervillains, some of the very people he put behind bars. But this isn't just any prison. Supermax is uniquely designed with high-tech systems and even meta-level safeguards built to contain the most extraordinary abilities. Each cell is tailored to neutralize its inmates' powers, making any escape a near-impossible, deadly gamble. According to long-running rumors, Oliver Queen would appear in full Green Arrow gear for only the first 10 minutes of the film. There was also unconfirmed buzz about Matt Damon being in talks to play the role. The movie was said to feature cameos from a few big-name DC villains, like the Riddler and Lex Luthor, plus a long list of B and C level bad guys, Icicle, Blockbuster, Tattoo Man, and Green Arrow's arch-nemesis Merlin. Escape from Supermax sounded fresh and risky, but it lingered in development for years. By the time the Arrow TV series premiered in 2012, a big screen version no longer made sense. Maybe the studio believed audiences back then weren't ready for a movie that focused so heavily on villains, or on one of DC's so-called second-tier heroes. But looking at today's landscape, Goyer may have been right when he later said his film was simply ahead of its time. Batman vs. Superman. Remember the Batman and Superman logo from I'm Legend 2007? It wasn't just an Easter egg, it was a message. A little nod from writer-producer Akiva Goldsman, as if saying, maybe in another world our movie actually happened, even if that world didn't survive. Goldsman had rewritten a script under the working title Asylum, an early concept for Batman vs. Superman developed in the early 2000s. The idea began in the late 90s after Superman Lives collapsed and Batman and Robin flopped critically. Warner Brothers believed the best way to revive both franchises was to unite them in one massive film. A first draft came from Andrew Kevin Walker, the writer of Seven, but producers found it too dark, so Akiva Goldsman, who co-wrote I Am Legend and A Beautiful Mind, was brought in for a rewrite. Director Wolfgang Peterson became attached to the project, with rumors of Colin Farrell and Jude Law in the lead roles. But after repeated rewrites, creative disagreements, and long delays, Peterson shifted to another epic, Troy. Eventually, Warner Brothers decided to split the characters and change plans, leading to Superman Returns and Batman Begins. About 12 years later, Zack Snyder finally brought the two icons together on the big screen in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice inside the DCEU. And now let's hear from you. Which of these canceled DC movies do you wish we'd seen? Drop a comment below, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Thanks for watching. See you soon.